Hey, what's up, everybody? So yesterday I was thinking about like old websites that I used to spend a lot of time on, just like reading things, and remembered Erowid. So, I was thinking let's make a video of it. Let's make a video going and reading like some bad trip reports, because that's something I haven't done in a while, and I think it'll be fun. And what better way to start off than with morning glory seeds? Cause it's one of the like greasiest ways that you could have a psychoactive experience. So I'm sure there's going to be some bad stories on here. So yeah, morning glory. Common names: morning glory, heavenly blue. Its affects classifications as a psychedelic, and it says it's a common ornamental vine with heart-shaped leaves and bright white, pink, or purple flowers and small black seeds that contain LSA. Because of its fast growth and prodigious seed production, many jurisdictions consider it an invasive weed plant. It has a long history of use in central and southern Mexico. So it has like some spirituality to it because, it was used in rituals in like Mayan and Aztec culture. Alright. The seeds of several varieties of morning glory contain a naturally occurring alkaloid called lysergic acid amide, which is closely related to LSD. Seeds are taken orally, can be eaten whole, or the active alkaloids can be extracted. The most common active varieties of seeds are heavenly blue, pearly gates, and flying saucers. Hell yeah. I like that they're called flying saucers, that's funny. Like LSD, LSA acts as a psychedelic or hallucinogen, which can have strong mental effects. Alright. So let's read some of these bad trips. And this one right here, I'm going to start with this one. It says, I hate myself. Morning Glory, Heavenly Blue, and DXM with CPM. Jeez. That right there is what did it. Don't take that cough medicine. That DXM is cough medicine. Like, don't do that. That's really greasy. I mean, it's pretty greasy to eat some, like, morning glory seeds from the hardware store to, like, get a little buzz. But, like, taking the cough medicine is that's just a step too far, brother. Alright. Morning glory seeds, 7.2 grams oral. DXM, pill tablet, 90 milligrams oral. At least there's a note from Erowid itself that says most corticosteroids contain CPM, which can be dangerous in high doses. So yeah, that's good. Like there's a warning there because yeah, that cough that's bad for you. Don't be taking that cough medicine. All right. I had some experience with acid before and had heard of Morning Glory and wanted to give it a shot. I bought 4 packs of Heavenly Blue. The brand has no chemicals and I didn't experience any nausea, although my stomach swelled 5 whole inches and was enormously uncomfortable. I didn't prepare them at all, just chewed them thoroughly. Within an hour, I was seeing walls breathing and moving, but I wanted something a little stronger. So I took 3 quercetin cold and cough pills, which I have much experience with, and it's low dose for me. That's bad. That shouldn't be like a low dose, and you shouldn't like be taking quercetin recreationally. After that, it was an endless nightmare. The hallucinations were primarily mental, seeing myself as everything I hate. I was recounting all the stupid things I've ever done, all the bad mistakes, and if it wasn't one negative thought, it was another. I felt like all the things I had ever done, my personality, everything had been to compensate for being ugly or selfish or what have you. And there seemed to be no end. I saw the trip as analogous to my present perception of my life, just one downward cycle. I am not one who is particularly self-loathing and have reasonably healthy self-esteem, but all the fears I had overcame years ago came flooding back. Like sometimes when that happens, it shouldn't be classified as a bad trip. Like you took like a spiritual thing, like the Mayans and Aztecs, yeah, used it for spiritual purposes, and you have something like blocking your own spirit. Of course it's gonna come like flooding out. You can't like take something like that and just like take it like, whoa, what's up, bro? Hey, yeah, man, I'm gonna eat some, like, sacred seeds. Like, of course, you weren't prepared for it. The music was very much a reverb and echo. I like how they went back from, like, having a terrible, terrible experience straight into talking about, like, how the music had reverb and echo on it. I began to listen to artists I thought were multi-dimensional and spoke the truth. Soon I began to paint, which eased some of my panic. Colors and textures were extremely vivid, but I couldn't escape the thoughts I had earlier, and then my belief in myself as an artist began to dwindle. Eventually, I woke up and realized I had been missing an hour of time. The last thing I remember was thinking about snuffing it and how I wanted it to end, but I didn't want to hurt my loved ones. When I came to, I saw that my hand had been cut pretty deeply and there was blood all over my bed. I have no idea how this happened. I really underestimated the power of morning glory and don't think I had prepared myself enough. Definitely an intense trip. Published April 2nd, 2008. Yeah. Year experienced 2004. Yeah, that's about it. That's about when it was like, you know, on the news, like, morning glory seeds. Don't eat morning glory seeds, kids. But they, like, put it on the news and, like, made a lot more people, like, try it. Alright, what is this one? Jimmy and the Woolen Cat. Jimmy and the Woolen Cat. Morning glory. 320 seeds. Oral. This was my second actual experience with morning glory seeds. I am under 16 and very interested in the 60s and psychedelia. Oh man. Damn. Come on, man. Oh. I just love boomers. I'm under 16, but I just love me some boomers. My first experience with morning glory seeds was spent with a friend of mine, and the entire time I felt very happy. Everything seemed great. My friend threw up in the beginning, and I felt sick towards the end. I also felt a bit depressed the day after, but felt normal a few days. All in all, that experience was one to remember. Not to mention, it was my first time ever doing any kind of chemical in my entire life. With this experience, I was not so fortunate. While I am very glad that I experienced this, it was not what I had been looking for the night I had done these seeds for the second time. For preparation, I simply ground up the seeds with a mortar and pestle and put the ground up material in gel capsules to swallow. This saved me from the disgusting taste of those seeds. However, I later found myself in regret for swallowing the large amount of capsules that turned them into a large amount of gel in my stomach, which I was spitting up most of the next day. The day I took these seeds was a great day. School was not as boring as usual, and today was the day a most annoying character was moving, which lifted my mood a lot. Wait, what? A most annoying character was moving? Like Chris Chan was finally moving away or something? That's so strange the way you worded that. This took place on a Friday night. I had the whole next week off from school as well. Seemed like a great time to try these seeds again. I spent the whole trip inside of my house. I swallowed the gel caps and shortly after felt nauseous, which I had not experienced in the beginning of my last trip. I spent this time of nausea on a bed and eventually passed. By the time it had passed, I felt very excited and began to walk around the house. I stopped in the bathroom to look in the mirror at my dilated pupils, and while I was there, I think they messed up. And while I was there, I enjoyed looking at myself in the mirror. I did not see too much of anything. However, if I stared at my face, I would look as though my mouth was opening. However, when I blinked, my mouth would be shut. I sat down and began to listen to Jimi Hendrix. Oh, typical. Come on. Oh, one of my favorites. And when Third Stone from the Sun came around, Things spun out of control. For those of you that have heard this song, you will know how weird it sounds sober, but tripping made the song take on a completely different dimension. I felt like Jimmy was talking to me through metaphors in the song. I began to get tired and lay down. However, I could not sleep. Time seemed to slow and halt. At first, I thought it was rather groovy looking at my clock at what seemed like every 30 or so minutes. Oh, come on, you really said groovy. You really tried to use groovy. Oh, come on, man. At first, I thought it was rather groovy looking at my clock at what seemed like every 30 or so minutes, which actually ended up being about 3 minutes. Later into the night, my trip turned sour. I remember I got up and went to the bathroom to splash some water on my face, and when I came back to my bedroom, I had no idea if I had just gotten up and gone to the bathroom. Luckily, I had asked my brother earlier to watch over me, and he assured me that I had actually done what I thought I did. This repeated many times. I would get up and do something, and when I came back, I did not know if I did what I thought I just did or not. This made me feel insane. I began to become scared, and I felt my heart, and it was becoming extremely fast. I kept thinking I was hearing birds all around, and at one point, I thought that I might wake up as somebody else on some beach. I was worried that I might never come down, and for it had seemed like many, many hours had passed since I took the seeds. I was afraid to do anything for fear that it might suddenly wake up and be doing something different. At one point, I think my cat wandered into my room, and when I went to go pet it, it felt as though it was made out of wool, like a stuffed animal. I was afraid to do anything more that entire night, and I had spent the rest of the night lying on my couch, reassuring myself that eventually everything would be fine. I was sweating bullets, and everything in my room seemed wrong. I remember I would feel my face, and with one hand I would feel sweaty skin, and with the other I would feel dry skin. This was a bit weird, I thought. I felt like I had been plundered into Wonderland. I think they mean plunged into Wonderland. Oh, it's alright. They're tripping. My peace flags covering my windows looked as though they were huge and bent inwards. Oh, come on. Of course they've got peace flags covering their windows. Of course they do. They're eating morning glory seeds and listening to Jimi goddamn Hendrix. Oh, man. I was very scared and thought that I might have been dead. Uh-oh. Another one. All these people keep sacrificing themselves to scary Aztec gods whenever they're tripping out on these things. After what seemed like 5 hours, I went into the bathroom to check my pupils, and they were still dilated, and it had barely been an hour. I went back to my couch to try to get some sleep, and finally fell asleep. When I woke up, I was shaky, for I had been scared out of my mind a few hours earlier. I spent the next day sleeping, the entire day, and by that night I felt much better. Overall, this is not an experience I would go looking for again. However, I am glad I have now experienced both ends of tripping. Many things that I felt during this bad trip I cannot put into words. The only thing I can say about it was that at the time it was terrifying, to say the least. I will be trying Morning Glory seeds one last time. I have already started to prepare them by putting them in a pepper mill and grinding them up and soaking the powder in water for a little over a day. I then filtered the liquid through a coffee filter and threw away the seed matter and filter. I'm currently waiting for it to evaporate. Okay, you don't have to tell us how to do it. This will probably be my last experience with Morning Glory, and I will soon be trying Salvia divinarum. Woo! I am not sure what triggered my bad trip, but I feel as a result of it that I no longer feel dreaded bad trip, and my experimenting with chemicals could go much further than before. I have learned that the old proverb, time solves all problems, is very true in our world. I have also now experienced one more thing, and experience is everything for many things. Deep, man. Hell yeah, bro. I bet Tommy Chong himself's gonna read this and be like, bro, let's be best friends. I'm kicking Cheech out, and you're gonna be my new pal. I am not one to try a chemical to be messed up. I try chemicals in hopes of expanding my mind, gaining experiences, and reaching a higher level of consciousness. Thank you for reading this, and happy tripping to all. Experienced year 2007. Published August 26, 2009. So funny. So funny. A hippie. 2007 hippie. Which one should we read now? How about A Night Spent Poisoned? Dose 500 seeds. Oral. Morning Glory. Ground crushed. Heavenly Blue. Before I start, let me say that I think that I probably handled this experience as good as anyone could hope for. And I was still a hard waste and much more unpleasant than I was hoping would be possible in a worst case turnout. It was enough to forget about the possible good effects and abandon the chemical totally, just to avoid the risk of repeating this experience ever again. To start off, I am an avid DXM user. Like I said in the first one, that's greasy. You don't want to be doing that DXM. That's not good for you. Even if it doesn't have the other kind of chorusine stuff in it, just DXM in and of itself is not good for you. It's almost like PCP. It's really close to the same chemical. It's very similar. Alright. Avid DXM user. Very comfortable with my own mind in various states. I was looking to try LSD, but where I live right now, it is very dry. One night, I decided to try Morning Glory seeds. I figured that at best, this would be a new experience that would further my understanding of different states of consciousness and provide me with a night's amusement. At worst, I figured I would have a bad experience that I would get through. It went for worst. After picking out several packs, 500 seeds worth, of Heavenly Blue Morning Glory seeds, my friend and I went to his house. I washed the seeds off in a bowl of dishwashing liquid, and my friend pulverized them in his coffee grinder. When we mixed it into a bowl of applesauce, applesauce, I was amused of the concept of magical applesauce. I too am amused at the concept of magical applesauce. That's funny. It's like what you give the babies when they're sick and you mix their medicine up in it. And I scarfed it down. The taste wasn't unpleasant at all, especially compared to the gagging that ensues from just thinking about the taste of cough syrup. Yeah, of course, it's bad, so don't be doing it. It was a nut-like taste, not pleasant, but not really bad. I just got the applesauce down quickly and didn't worry about the taste. I had a plastic garbage bag on hand in case of vomiting. Oh, that's always good. It's always good when you think you are going to purge, so you always have to have the vomiting bag necessary and ready. At least the dude's being prepared. And it turns out that was a good idea because as soon as I knew it, I was going to puke. My head was in the bag. I wouldn't have made it to the toilet. I can normally stomach cough syrup, so I'm used to controlling my stomach. This still took me. I continued to wait, only feeling a bit better from puking. Nothing happened, and after a while, my friend and I decided to go to sleep because the chemical obviously wasn't going to do anything. I was feeling pretty uncomfortable at that point, and as I got under the covers, it intensified. My legs began to move against the covers, and it felt like some form of internal itching that would only go away by moving my legs. It spread to other parts of my body, but mainly stayed in my legs. My mouth was salivating under my tongue, and though the taste of the seeds wasn't bad going down, I tasted them under my tongue and my saliva, and it was very unpleasant. Drinking something or putting something in my mouth would only make this go away for a short time, before it would be back. I laid in the bed and stared at the poster on the ceiling, somehow hoping that the seeds would do something eventually. In the darkness of the image of the poster seemed to shift a bit, and sometimes regions would fade and the poster would disappear into the wall completely. It was very minimal. That just sounds like staring at stuff. Sometimes you can get that just by staring at stuff. If you're sleeping and you stare at the shadows and you stare at something and it kind of morphs around, you don't even have to be on anything to like have that like morphing shadow effect when you're laying there trying to sleep. I used to stare at that all the time when I was a little kid. I'm not sure if it was even the chemicals at all. Not interesting in the least. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't the chemicals. That's everybody's brain chemicals naturally can just do that. I was somewhat tired, and it was about 2 or 3, but I couldn't keep my body from moving around under the covers. The unpleasant body feeling grew stronger, and my legs began to spasm periodically. A bit at first, and then more and more frequently, until my legs were spasming every 2 seconds or so. My arms would sometimes spasm too, especially if I directed any amount of attention whatsoever to a particular muscle. I got up and went back to bed several times. It was one of the most unpleasant experiences ever. I wasn't worried at all. I just wanted to get through the night. It was aggravating to be in a helpless state of twitching. I couldn't stop the spasms if my life depended on it. If my friend's dad had walked into the room, I would still be kicking and jerking my arms. It was terribly regarded looking, I'm sure. Woo! I wonder when this one was written. The spasms made it impossible to attain sleep, which I wanted more than anything so I could just finish this ordeal. My stomach at this point was wretched, and my mouth tasted horribly dry and yet filled with seed-tasting saliva. I had the very uncomfortable body sensation going on, and every second or two another limb would jerk itself. Without being able to stay still, there would be no way of getting to sleep. I laid on the bed and thought a lot, mainly about how horrid the entire situation was and how much I just longed to get through it. Several hours later, I finally was able to drift off, but woke up several times and went to the bathroom. The next morning, I became conscious in steps. At first, it was like I had awakened, but it was still unaware of my body. I felt my consciousness in a non-void. I didn't feel like I was anywhere, but I only didn't really feel like I was nowhere either. It was like my special perception was just not happening at that moment. It was dark. The only thing I became aware of was a strange feeling. It wasn't pleasant, but it was manageable. I didn't know what the feeling was at all, but I knew that I could make it feel better if I just willed it to. I don't know why I didn't will it to feel better, but I am oh so glad that I didn't. Slowly, I became more conscious, and finally awoke sort of dazed, quite a bit disoriented. As I woke, I realized that the sensation was my bladder, and had I relieved it, I would have pissed all in my friend's bed. At that state I was in, I probably wouldn't have even realized it until I woke up from peeing on myself. I'm sure that would have been a very embarrassing experience. Oh man, that's funny. He was like, oh, I got a pee-pee. He didn't realize he had to pee-pee. Oh, them seeds got him forgetting how to pee-pee. Oh. I felt totaled. Horrid to say the least. I still spasm, but it was a bit more controllable now. I could sometimes keep it down to a minimum, and for short periods, stop myself from spasming completely. My stomach felt great, and my body in general was in a pretty sad state. Huh. Yeah, I wonder when this one was written. You can tell the casual language has like changed since then. My body in general was in pretty bad state. I was going to go home, but as I walked to the van and to the garage, my stomach unkindly let me know that I really meant to be heading to the trash can to vomit. I puked my insides out. The smell from the can was wretched, and all that I could do was catch myself from gagging and dry heaving long enough to request something to vomit into besides the trash can. At this point, I had specks of vomit on my pants. I was in no condition to go home to face my mom, so I went inside and got the vomit off my pants with a wet towel. Ew. Since I was very noticeably wet, I decided to go with my friend out of town to score some weed instead of going home. My mouth tasted disgusting and my body was feeling quite lower than I had ever felt. I was completely torn up from the entire experience. After several hours, mostly driving with a short stint at the dude's house while we waited to finish the deal, I returned home and spent the rest of the days in my room lying down. I didn't sleep, but I was physically and mentally exhausted and could only rest the remainder of the day away. It was a relief after the previous night's unpleasantness. I had been a few weeks since the experience, and although the initial "God, that sucked, I'm never ever going to try that again" period wore off, I can still say that the least impression of the experience is far more than enough to keep me away from morning glory seeds for good. I did not get a trip at all, and I spent the night in utter discomfort, and the next day trying to recover from such a punishing experience. It was enough to keep my mind off chemicals completely for the next few days. I made it, but anything I gained from the experience would greatly give up a chance to have not had it. I am sticking to my regular chemicals until LSD comes around. This has certainly convinced me that waiting for acid is not like the worst thing that could happen. This just let me know that, wait, if you gotta wait for acid, you might as well wait for acid than eat morning glory seeds. Jeez, great insight there. Great insight. Year experience 2002, published June 6, 2007. Alright, published in 2007. So, alright. So, thanks everybody for, watching this one. I just, kind of wanted to, go back and, maybe, remember a little bit, be a little nostalgic for, that kind of era, 2005, 6, 7, and reading, Erowid bad trip reports. So, if you like these, just let me know. I might do some more. There's tons of them. So, thanks everybody.